What is happening, everybody? Off the Mic Sports Network, another edition of Off the Top Rope. So, reacting to the 6th anniversary of Dynamite. So, obviously, the big talking point coming out of this show is obviously the return of Andrade after a couple years in WWE, and obviously the unceremonious exit from WWE. It sounds like he was fired for reasons like that have been, reported on. Maybe there might have been some stuff that might have been legal that they couldn't talk about. Sounds like maybe there was some wellness issues, like in terms of wellness policy, and he was not reporting back to WWE because of his lack of booking. And to be blunt, WWE did drop the ball with him. They did. That doesn't mean AEW didn't drop the ball with him either. And maybe they'll do better, but I don't have a ton of optimism with them throwing him in the Don Callis family. Anyway, speaking of the Don Callis family, so Hangman Adam Page, since winning the world championship, and I talked about this last week, they've got no plan, no direction for him whatsoever. They had him doing open challenges on the 6th anniversary of Dynamite show. They have him teaming up. They have him teaming up with the Ops in a trios match that really went nowhere. It was against the Death Riders. And it really didn't go anywhere. But the story really that came out of this, Samoa Joe and Hangman were going at it because I guess Hangman took a tag from Samoa Joe, and then after the match he tried to hand Joe's trios championship to him, and he dropped it. And Joe took that as disrespect. They started yelling at each other, almost came to blows. And Hangman cut a promo backstage, and he challenged him, and he said, "Hey, I respect you." I mean, as Joe in the midst of this chaos before they went backstage basically said, "You've never beaten me." And Hangman basically challenged him to a match. And hey, that's how you get a world title match. That's how you get a world title match. Shows in 17 days, October the 18th from St. Louis, WrestleDream. And Hangman basically, here's what's happened here is what's happened for Hangman. And I've talked about this already a lot. Hangman, since he had the most monumental win, one of the most monumental wins in AEW history, with winning the world championship and freeing it from that briefcase, which how we got there was a little bit odd. The moment that we got in Texas was unbelievable. Everything that has followed since then has been dog shit. And this is the latest example. He faced MJF where they couldn't figure out, is he using the contract or is he not using the contract? Have them do that. He beats MJF. They have him face Kyle Fletcher in an abruptly built feud because they didn't have a plan and they didn't have any heels for him to face. So he faces Kyle Fletcher, the TNT champion. That match went 40 minutes for some reason and it went nowhere. And then you have an open challenge with Lee Moriarty, a guy from Pittsburgh, a talented wrestler, but at the end of the day, just a guy from Pittsburgh that he was going to beat. And why are you having open challenges as a world champion? And then he just gives a match to Samoa Joe on pay-per-view. I get Samoa Joe as a world champion, but there's no story here. Is AEW completely inept and completely incapable of telling like somewhat of a story, as opposed to, hey, a veteran feeling disrespected by the world champion despite helping him win the world championship as part of the Ops? Like, we all knew that this was probably going to be the way that they were going to go, but this just feels lazy, man. This just feels lazy. Like, there's no story and there's no storyline arc. Some people may try to make the comparison to Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. Like, there was stuff percolating behind the scenes. This came out of one confrontation in one match on one night, and it leads to a world championship match out of nowhere. Like, there's no story here. You can't tell me that, hey, Joe helped Hangman win the world title as part of the Ops and, played a big role in the match at, he played a big role in getting to the match at All In, but let's be real, man. It's like, and also it doesn't make the trios championships look well, but that they don't care. So that's also back-to-back shows where a champion is challenging Hangman Adam Page. That shows you how lackluster the depth of the roster is in terms of people over, because Swerve's not there, Ospreay's not there, and they've just got nobody really for Hangman to deal with. And let's be real. I love Joe. Joe ain't winning. So the unpredictability factor is completely shot in this too. So I don't know what you guys want me to say here. Like this has not been good. Hangman is trying. Like he is really trying with some of his promos where he is really trying to control and lead as like an alpha dog. And I really enjoy that part of Hangman because he's really, taking control and like I said, been the alpha male of that division. In terms of, but he's been wrestling way too much and none of this means anything. Like if you mean to tell me that since conquering the Death Riders, he's faced Jon Moxley, he's faced MJF, he's faced Kyle Fletcher, and now you got to go to Samoa Joe in a stopgap feud on pay-per-view. There's nothing better for you to find for him to do? Nothing better for you guys to build to? Really? There's nobody else? Like, this is why they have failed on television, because they've typecast so many people into factions. You got the Don Callis family, you got the Death Riders, you got all these people, and nobody's getting over. And then your top baby faces are out of the picture. And even some of your top heels are champions. Like Takeshita's going to turn babyface. Okada's already a champion. So like there's an MJF's off television. Like there's nothing going on. So yeah, the Joe match should happen eventually. I get it. Joe's a former world champion. Joe's fucking awesome. Are you kidding me? I'd love to see Samoa Joe and Hangman Page face off in a ring. One confrontation leads to a world championship match on pay-per-view. That's where we are. There's no story here. I don't care what they did for each other. The tension was built up for a day, for literally 20 minutes after a wrestling match, and then a challenge is immediately tossed out. That's not how you book stuff. That is not how you book stuff in wrestling. There's got to be some level of a build. WWE's been having this problem because they have a pay-per-view and they have a live event every 3 weeks that they got to build to. So there can't be any story. AEW's been having this problem for months because they don't start building shows until 2 weeks before. And you got 17 days before this pay-per-view. Hangman's just giving out world title matches? Really? That's where we are? Like, I said this last week, there's no plan. There's no direction whatsoever. They are just throwing shit in the wall and hopes it sticks. And there is some level of a story that Hangman has not beaten Joe. But does anybody in their mother think Samoa Joe's winning the world championship? No. And they didn't even bother to build to it. They just basically were like, hey, you guys have an issue during the tag match, have a misunderstanding in the ring after the match, and then, play it up, and then, it'll get us to the pay-per-view. I'm not even convinced that this is going to main event that show. There's a good chance that Darby Allin and Jon Moxley in the I Quit match main events that show, which is even a bigger indictment on the way that they presented the world championship. It's just like, I don't like what they've been doing. But you know what? Hey, Hangman and Joe will be awesome. Don't get me wrong. But the problem here is that there's just no creative ideas. And it's like, it took them like 5 minutes to come up with this idea. You couldn't come up with something more creative or something longer term to get to Joe and Hangman, because it's a great idea. But this ain't it, man. Anyway, thanks so much. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.